Please note, the following stories may contain graphic or otherwise disturbing or triggering content. Viewer discretion is advised. Item Number: SCP-804. Object Class: Keter. Special Containment Procedures. Until such time as SCP-804 is found to be without any memetic effect, it is to remain in its original location at the former site of Alaska, where exposure to the elements prevents its reactivation. A 30-meter by 30-meter camouflage tarp is to be maintained over SCP-804, and facilities for armed guards and testing are to be maintained 130 meters from its location. Trespassers are to be treated with Class A amnestics and returned to the nearest town of or terminated at the discretion of on-site security. In the event of SCP-804 being approached or seized by a hostile armed force, Contingency 804-X is to be executed. Description: SCP-804 is the remains of an art installation titled World Without Man, revealed on 2000 by the defunct artists group Unalmat Paramasta Mailmasta. According to documentation retrieved and deleted from the artist's website during cleanup procedure, SCP-804 was originally a large clear globe of the Earth, with several smaller globes and video equipment within. Promotional material on the website implied that the globe was to display images of pastoral wilderness untouched by mankind, contrasted with visuals of abandoned human industry and decaying landmarks. Upon activation before a small audience of prominent environmental activists and artists from the nearby community of SCP-804 began to display its destructive properties. We can only speculate if the device's output was intentional or not, as those involved in its construction perished during the incident or have gone into hiding. While the globes within SCP-804 rotate, all man-made artifacts within approximately 100 meters begin to rapidly deteriorate until they are completely disintegrated. The effect applies to anything ranging from machinery to buildings, clothing, plastics, synthetic chemical compounds, and any tool more complex than a sharpened stick of wood. The area of effect grows the longer the device is active, with the effect growing ever stronger at its source. Human tissue is also affected at a slower rate of decay, causing victims to become emaciated as they lose body mass, eventually leading up to the collapse of the skeleton and death, with the body swiftly breaking down into component matter shortly thereafter. Non-human life is completely unaffected. Persons who escape the area of effect experience symptoms similar to prolonged starvation, but can return to full health with proper care. If not for the fact that it is not entirely immune to its own effect, SCP-804 would have had the potential to remove all trace of humanity from the globe in a matter of weeks. Judging from the observed rate of destruction upon original activation versus its current capabilities under testing, SCP-804's capabilities have been impaired by the damage it caused to itself. However, sustained use still presents an extreme threat, especially if the device is somehow refined or repaired. Due to the circumstances in which SCP-804 was secured, it is strongly believed that the device also possesses some form of mental compulsion on those who view it, but testing is still ongoing to determine if that property has also been compromised by the decay of SCP-804 and how it might be contained. See Recovery Log for further information. Recovery Log, SCP-804. Approximately 5 minutes after activation, the effect of SCP-804 reached the nearby community of Citizens who were not at the art show initially responded with panic and made several emergency calls. Due to the extremely remote location of the town, the first response was made by a small single-prop aircraft, which arrived about 30 minutes later. Although the plane entered the area of effect and was quickly lost, the pilot did relay a radio message describing the swift and complete destruction of the town's buildings. At this point, the Foundation became aware of the situation, and teams of agents were sent to investigate. By the time the agents were able to arrive on the scene, SCP-804 had been intermittently active for nearly 8 hours, and as a result, the town and everything in a radius of was wiped clean of any trace of human civilization. Upon arrival, one plane was immediately affected. Fortunately, the crew was able to make an emergency landing before the physical structure of the plane collapsed around them. Unfortunately, their equipment and clothing was also quickly disintegrated, exposing them to the extreme cold of northern Alaska. As a result, 6 agents had to be treated for hypothermia, but all are expected to return to duty with no lasting effects. After recovering the crew of the downed plane, agents set up a perimeter and were able to observe the epicenter of SCP-804's effect. The surviving population of had crowded around the remains of the device. All subjects observed were severely emaciated and suffering from severe hypothermia. Exposure had only worsened the effect of SCP-804, and many subjects were observed with missing digits and even limbs. The survivors were approaching the device in teams of 2 to 3 to push at the single remaining globe within SCP-804's housing in order to maintain its effect. As each subject eventually succumbed and collapsed, another from the crowd of onlookers would shuffle forward to take their place. Survivors were seen to be cheering and encouraging those who were maintaining the device, until their turn to push the frosted globe came up. Although, such manual operation was not sufficient to maintain even the radius of effect the device had achieved before damaging itself. Agents were authorized by 05- to open fire on the crowd. Although bullets experienced the same decay as any other artifact, their velocity was enough to strike lethal wounds before decomposition. When the remaining globe of SCP-804 ceased to spin, the effect ended, and agents were able to move in and secure the device. Survivors attempted to resist, but lacked the strength to impede Foundation agents, and began to act in a disoriented manner once they were removed from SCP-804. With no adequate facilities remaining to provide shelter for them all, many survivors chose to simply lie down in the snow and die, while others attempted to provoke agents into using lethal force upon them. Those who were taken into custody refused to answer any questions, and were able to refuse enough care that they did not recover from their physical decay. As exposure to the extreme elements of northern Alaska appears to adequately contain SCP-804 by freezing its remaining machinery in place, it was decided to leave the device on site and under guard along with a in the unlikely event that a hostile faction attempts to secure the device. Addendum: SCP-804 is not to be contained within any Foundation facility until it is certain that we will be able to prevent anyone from being compelled to activate or maintain the rotation of the globe. Even a few minutes of SCP-804's effect could destroy its own containment and seriously compromise any other containment nearby. Contingency 804-X Memetick Research Report, revised July 2011 by Dr. Johann Sorts.
This is the 3rd annual review of any supernatural memetick component to SCP-804, and we still have not produced any significant results. It's time to put the controversy on SCP-804's memetick properties to rest, once and for all. Yes, SCP-804 possesses memetick properties, and yes, these properties were responsible for driving the survivors of its activation event into sacrificing themselves to maintain the device. But there is nothing especially virulent or dangerous about SCP-804's memetick properties. Only a few select personality types, outlined in the attached report, have any desire to reactivate the device. Most notable are the D-class sociopaths, who show similar amusement when presented with a big red button that says, "Kill everything." We've been looking at this all wrong. There is no magical compulsion that could drive so many people to destroy themselves. There does not need to be. Everything we observe during recovery can be explained by mundane group dynamics and human nature. The device had just wiped away all trace of the work and the lives of a reclusive artist and activist community. The buildings crumbled into dust so fast that people were not even injured in the collapse. And, at the center of it all, a world without man turned around and around on its increasingly rickety platform, offering a deadly premise that had been presented to them as an ideal, a cure for the virus known as humanity. So, why did a group of activists throw themselves and their neighbors into the deadly workings of a machine that they thought was going to wipe all human life off of Mother Earth? They simply wanted to do it.
Item Number: SCP-439. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. Specimen is to be kept at Armed Research Site 45, Hazardous Lifeforms Wing, in a sealed, locked, 38-liter or 10-gallon Type G containment unit with connected oxygen supply. Specimen is to be fed through feeding tube 16A with approved nutritive substance X-F. Handling is available for Level 2 personnel and higher. Description: SCP-439 is an insect of unknown origin, somewhat resembling a grayish, semi-translucent Forficula auricularia, or common earwig, approximately 2.5 centimeters in length. Originally located and obtained in mainland China in the province. No other specimen has been found as of yet. SCP-439 is relatively harmless when encountered on safe terms, aside from the ability to deliver a firm, painful pinch with its abdominal forceps. The true hazard this creature poses lies in its habitat construction and reproduction, which is initiated when the specimen enters the mouth of a sleeping human. This will only occur with humans. Other life forms have been presented to SCP-439 and have been uniformly rejected. Upon location of a suitable host, the specimen will hide itself in the immediate vicinity and wait until the victim has fallen asleep. How it is able to determine the state of sleep is unknown, but it is shown to be accurate in times out of. Upon entering the mouth of the new host, SCP-439 will travel down the trachea and take up residence in one of the victim's lungs. In approximately 4 to 8 hours after awakening, the host will complain of chest pains and shortness of breath, followed shortly by abdominal cramping. The tightness in the chest will increase, as well as a fever, until the host is incapacitated. It is around this time that the onset of fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, or FOP, occurs, a disorder that is normally genetic in nature that promotes growth of bone into muscle tissue. Since the production of new bone growth is so rapid, the procedure is also quite painful for the subject, with new bone spurs occasionally protruding through the flesh. While this is happening, the host will become compelled to seek shelter in a darkened, enclosed space, such as inside household cabinetry, closets, or heating ductwork. Within the first 3 days without treatment, the host will become completely withdrawn and immobile due to the extreme pain of new bone growth, coupled with difficulty breathing. At this point, the subject's body will begin the final stage of transformation into a bone hive. Having concealed itself in its new home, the body of the host will huddle in a fetal position. Entire portions of the skeletal structure will shift along until the host body is roughly spherical in nature and reduced to 3/4 its original size. New bone protrusions will continue to grow and, if possible, anchor the body permanently to its new location. The skeletal structure is almost completely unrecognizable, having been converted to a round cage of sorts to protect the internal organs and colony. At this point, transformation is complete. The original queen that entered the host will have produced 20 to 30,000 offspring that function as workers, drones, and warriors in a typical insect hive hierarchy. Since only the queen is capable of reproduction, the rest of the hive's inhabitants are, fortunately, harmless, save for the large, strong abdominal forceps of the warriors. The interior of the original host is nearly unrecognizable as a human body. Certain organs are removed and used as food, while others are modified by the worker insects to serve as egg incubation chambers. An ingenious method exists of using the host's own digestive system to process pieces of organic materials collected by the warriors into a nutritive slurry that feeds both the colony and sustains the host hive structure. After 4 to 6 months, a new queen will emerge from within the ranks and choose a drone to mate with. At this point, the colony will destroy itself by rupturing, upon which the majority of the insects die. Workers and drones are unfit to survive outside the host hive, and warriors will abandon the site, wandering away, their tasks complete. No food will be consumed by warriors that isn't nutritive slurry produced by the hive of origin. The new queen will venture out, fertilized, to search for her own new hive. Incredibly, The trauma of evacuation is not what finally causes biological activity to cease in the hive, but rather starvation. Addendum. In an especially disturbing development, Dr. performed a range of experiments to determine the extent of damage to the host body after it has finished the transformation into a hive. While it had been previously discovered in autopsy that portions of the brain are hollowed out to serve as food, others are left intact, presumably to regulate what bodily functions continue. During the last round of experimentation, took the opportunity to examine a hive at close range shortly after transformation. While the eyes are eventually reached and used as a food source, at the point performed her examination, they were still intact. Upon opening the eyelids and examining them with a flashlight, discovered that the host's eyes followed the beam. Experimentation was terminated, and no further testing is scheduled. Item Number: SCP-1048. Object Class: Keter. Special Containment Procedures. The whereabouts of SCP-1048 are currently unknown, though it is still believed to be somewhere in Site-24. Subject is to be secured for containment, but any creation of SCP-1048s should be destroyed on site, unless further evidence warrants less extreme actions. No teddy bears are to be allowed in Site-24 to prevent any confusion or mistaken identity. Any object that resembles a teddy bear is to be reported to the security team immediately. Note:
this is not a joke. We have no idea what SCP-1048's full capabilities are. Who knows how many of the damn things are out there by now?
Signed, Dr. Carver. Description: SCP-1048 is a small teddy bear, approximately 33 centimeters in height. Through testing, composition of the subject revealed no unusual qualities that make it discernible from a non-sapient teddy bear. Subject is capable of moving of its own accord, and can communicate through a small range of gestures. The subject regularly shows affection to individuals in ways found endearing by most people. Affection is usually given in the form of a hug to the lower leg, but subject has also been observed dancing, jumping in place, and in 2 separate events, it has even drawn childlike pictures for janitorial staff. All Foundation personnel that have interacted with the subject have responded positively to its affection, even D-Class with normally sociopathic tendencies. Attempts at direct communication with SCP-1048 have not been considered successful. Though it is capable of simple gestures to indicate a yes or no answer, it will often not react to lines of questioning concerning its nature or where it originated from. It is not known if this is because SCP-1048 simply does not know the answers, or because it does not want to answer. Though capable of drawing pictures, it has not used its art as a form of communication beyond showing affection, even when encouraged to do so. The more anomalous behavior of SCP-1048 was not observed until approximately 7 months after it was originally secured. It is hypothesized that the subject is able to construct crude replicas of itself using various materials, by a process that is yet to be observed directly by Foundation staff. Dr. Carver has suggested that SCP-1048 uses its endearing qualities to lull those around it into a false sense of security, allowing it to collect materials to produce these creations. Currently, there are 3 known creations of SCP-1048, designated SCP-1048-A, SCP-1048-B, and SCP-1048-C. The nature of these creations has been in stark contrast to SCP-1048's general behavior, as all have experienced extreme violence towards humans. SCP-1048-A. On SCP-1048-A was discovered wandering Site-24, accompanied by SCP-1048. Subject resembles a teddy bear similar in size and shape to SCP-1048, but is made entirely of human ears. Witnesses interviewed reported that it appeared SCP-1048 was giving a tour of Site-24 to SCP-1048-A. Dr. Carver was called to the scene, along with a security team. The security team arrived first and attempted to contain SCP-1048-A. Subject emitted a high-pitched shriek that inflicted intense pain in the eyes and ears of everyone in a 10-meter radius. Ear-like growths immediately began growing on those within 5 meters of the subject, covering their bodies in less than 20 seconds. Every person afflicted with the symptom died within 3 minutes, resulting in the death of personnel, including the entire security team. Autopsies revealed the cause of death to be asphyxiation caused by an abundance of the ear-like growths manifesting in the mouths and trachea of all victims. SCP-1048 and SCP-1048-A fled the scene before Dr. Carver arrived, and have not been contained since the incident, though sightings of both have been reported on multiple occasions. Shortly after this incident occurred, a researcher was discovered missing an ear. According to him, it was removed through unknown means while he was sleeping. No other victims of ear removal were found, so it is unclear if SCP-1048 obtained more ears from another source, or if it is capable of duplicating objects or materials. SCP-1048-B. Subject was discovered by several Foundation staff members in the cafeteria of Site-24 on Subject's appearance was nearly identical to SCP-1048, but it moved in an irregular, jerky manner. Witnesses reported that it appeared as if something was moving inside of SCP-1048-B. Subject made no attempt to interact initially, until a burst in its seams revealed what appeared to be the hand and arm of a human infant, poking out and grasping at the air. At the sight of this, a female researcher named screamed, and SCP-1048-B reacted by emitting a high-pitched cry similar to that of a human infant. The subject then attempted to the screaming researcher, causing massive internal damage. In the ensuing chaos, a security team was forced to both the researcher and SCP-1048-B. Approximately 3 hours after this incident, Dr. was found unconscious and bleeding in her office. An abortion had been performed on her while she was sleeping, and the 8-month-old fetus was never found. It is hypothesized that SCP-1048 used Dr. unborn child to create SCP-1048-B. Information regarding the possible origin of SCP-1048-B is not to be leaked to the survivors currently undergoing therapy for the incident with SCP-1048-B, as Dr. Carver believes it would be extremely detrimental to their recovery. SCP-1048-C. Subject resembles a teddy bear similar to SCP-1048, but composed entirely of rusted metal scraps. Subject was first sighted on by Dr. Carver in his office while writing up a report on the SCP-1048-B incident. Subject fled the room when it noticed Dr. Carver observing it. In the attempted pursuit of SCP-1048-C, Dr. Carver witnessed the death and maiming of Foundation personnel, as the subject exhibited extreme violence during its escape. SCP-1048-C has not been encountered since this initial sighting, and it is unknown whether it still resides somewhere within Site-24. The origins of any materials possibly used to construct SCP-1048-C by SCP-1048 are also unknown at this time. Addendum 1048-1. SCP-2295 is similar, but nearly antithetical in function to SCP-1048. Attempts to establish a common origin are ongoing. Extreme caution is to be taken if SCP-1048-A or SCP-1048-C are encountered again. Note:
I cannot stress this enough. The damn thing jumped right through those poor people.
Signed, Dr. Carver. What's up, everybody? This is the Lone Wolf here. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to Episode 2 of the SCP Files. Just like with Episode 1, there will be links to all 3 of the SCPs read in this video in the description below for anybody who wants to check them out. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe, especially those of you new to my channel. Turn on the bell for notifications and join the Lone Wolf Pack. If anybody wishes to reach out to me regarding personal stories, recommendations, future collaborations, advice about the channel, or just to say hi, there will be links to all of my social media platforms in the description below. I'm mostly active on Twitter and Instagram, but I also have an email, Discord server, and TikTok account that you can message me on as well. Until next time, stay spooky. And remember, the hunt begins when the moon is full. Sweet dreams.